the stupidest trade war in history. That is what we've been calling it from the start. And it's really living up to its name. Donald Trump's decision to levy tariffs against our closest allies and neighbors to the north in Canada is backfiring not just on him publicly, but privately in the homes of each and every one of his MAGA voters who are seeing prices skyrocket. And the latest example of that with the Premier of Ontario announcing that he'd be happily willing to shut off electricity to the United States from Canada has Donald Trump throwing a tantrum, and we are going to get into it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now before we can get into that. Trump Truth Social Tantrum. I want to hear from the man himself, Doug Ford, who's delivering a knockout blow to Trump.
That President Trump decided to have an unprovoked attack on our country, on families, on jobs, and it's unacceptable. Let's work together. Let's get to the table if he has issues, and let's sort this out. You see the market tumbling, consumer confidence is down, and if he continues on with this, assembly plants in Michigan will shut down, and around the country, whoever makes autos, and as well as businesses. They're going to hurt. And these pensions, when the market goes down, it's going to affect people's pensions. So I'm not too sure why he continues to attack his closest friends and allies. But we need the American people to speak up. We need those CEOs to actually get a backbone and stand in front of them and tell them this is going to be a disaster. It's mass chaos right now. That's what we need.
Well, he'll have a chance to hear from those CEOs today, as we just mentioned. If you're talking de-escalation at this point, what would it take for you to remove that surcharge on the electricity coming into the U.S. from Canada?
Well, doubling the tariff on aluminum, that the U.S. only can manufacture 16% aluminum that they need. The balance, for the most part, comes from Quebec, over 65%. It's going to hurt your manufacturing. You need the aluminum. You need our high-grade nickel. And I want to send more high-grade nickel. You need our electricity. You need the 4.3 million barrels of oil that gets shipped down. I want to make sure we build an AMCAN fortress, the two greatest countries in the world. Fighting like this does not make sense. But I will respond appropriately on the electricity. Stay tuned.
So what does that look like? What are the potential responses?
Well, we'll see. I'll talk to the team, and we'll make an appropriate response to President Trump. Again, I stress, this is not the American people. Canadians know it. And if we go into a recession, it's self-made by one person. It's called President Trump's recession, which shouldn't be this way. We should be booming, both countries right now.
Have you and your team talked with President Trump or members of the White House since the beginning of all of the tariff back and forth, specifically since you had implemented this 25% surcharge on electricity coming into New York, Minnesota, and Michigan?
I've talked to the three governors. I've also talked to Secretary Lutnick and President Trump. You like the guy, you don't like him, they understand. They're business people. And for this to be unrolling and putting the whole country and Canada into a potential recession over what? He should be focusing on China. He should not be focusing on his closest neighbor and ally.
If you could talk to President Trump right now, what would you say?
Stop the chaos. It's hurting American families. It's hurting Canadian families. There's uncertainty, and the markets dislike uncertainty.
From just the very clear stupidity of this all, and not on behalf of the Canadians who consistently start every interview. Like, I know it's a stereotype, I know it's a trope, that the Canadians are so nice, but these guys consistently start every conversation by saying, we feel really bad for the Americans, we don't want them to deal with this economic pressure. We feel really bad about this trade war. We wish it wasn't going on. It's like they're responding, of course, as they should with their own tariffs, but they're just so much kinder than even our own government is. To us, I feel like at some point Canada's going to be like, do any of you guys want to be cut in on this health care we got going on? And I think that on top of the tariffs, just like the NIS and how Canadian leaders actually know how to treat people with respect And dignity is what's getting so much under Donald Trump's skin, because he went off on a bit of a spree of posts that we're going to check out right here. In his first incredibly long post, Donald Trump wrote, based on Ontario, Canada, placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, I have instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. This will go into effect tomorrow morning, March 12th. Also, Canada must immediately drop their anti-American farmer tariff of 250% to 390% on various U.S. dairy products, which has long been considered outrageous. I will shortly be declaring a national emergency on electric within the threatened area. This will allow the U.S. to quickly do what has to be done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada. And in another post, Trump wrote, "Why would our country allow another country to supply us with electricity, even for a small area, who made these decisions? And why, and can you imagine Canada stooping so low as to use electricity that so affects the life of innocent people as a bargaining chip and threat? They will pay a financial price for this so big that it will be read about in history books for many years to come. I know we say this very often, but what a stupid man. Why would anyone threaten their ally with making things more expensive on them?" Donald Trump says, while announcing 200% tariffs on Canada, that he started, why would they? Why would they threaten to cut off this trading relationship? That's so awful. Now let's end this trading relationship. It's not even like hypocritical at this point. I just think he truly doesn't understand how stupid he sounds. And as he doubles down, the market continues to double its losses day over day. Donald Trump continues to cause problems with the very people who supported him. Most people now in the Midwest who might lose their electricity or have their energy prices skyrocket, something Donald Trump said. The opposite was going to happen, and something that we can really enjoy, because I don't love to laugh at MAGA voters who are dealing with price increases and having their day-to-day lives affected. But I'm happy to laugh at the billionaires losing tens of billions because Donald Trump's stock market is falling apart. That I'm good. Jeff Bezos, you're losing a bunch of cash. I'll laugh at that. Zuck, I'll laugh at you too. Really warms my heart, does. It's okay, but back to those MAGA voters who are really, really feeling these impacts. Bernie Sanders talked about how we have to combat what is happening with rising prices, and CL right here.
Think there'll be a recession?
Got me, but I think there is so much chaos in the world right now created by we have a trade war with our two neighbors, Canada and Mexico. You have the President of the United States wanting to take over the Panama Canal, take over Greenland, God knows what else. We are laying off, Mr. Musk is now laying off or proposing to lay off hundreds of thousands of federal employees. What will that mean to the Veterans Administration? What will that mean to Social Security? What will that mean in terms of unemployment? So I think all of those questions creates a lot of economic uncertainty.
President Trump has said many times on the campaign trail that he would not touch entitlements like Social Security or Medicare, which I know are priorities for you. Elon Musk, however, seems to be leaning in the other direction. I want to play something he said in an interview today to Fox Business.
The way support in entitlement spending, which is which is most of the federal spending is entitlements. That's like the big one to eliminate, because that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year. That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here, and then turning them into voters.
So, I mean, what do you make of his desire to cut entitlements? He says he wants to go after waste and fraud, and the reason you just heard him use.
Well, he has called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. They have already laid off 2,500 employees of the Social Security Administration. Anderson, I think I speak for probably every member of the Senate. in that the calls that we get in large numbers are people who are saying, I'm trying to get a hold of Social Security. I got a disability issue. I can't get a hold of anybody. And the reason is the Social Security Administration today is understaffed. There are estimates out there that tens of thousands of people with disabilities die while they're waiting for those benefits to come to fruition. They apply, they're waiting. And now if you do, as Musk and others are proposing, not only 2,500 Social Security employees, they want to cut half of the Social Security employees. That will be a disaster. That will mean that millions of people who will, calling up, they're not going to get an answer. So if you ask me, I think this is a prelude not only to cutting benefits, but to privatizing Social Security itself. I think that's in the back of their mind. If you make the system dysfunctional, why would anybody want to support it? And that's consistent with what Trump said in his State of the Union address. Oh, there are millions of people, thousands of people, 200 years old and 150 years old. What is all of that about? It happens to be a lie. It's not true. 99% of the benefits go to people, more than that go to people who have paid into them. So why do you lie so much about Social Security? Why do you make it look like it's a broken, dysfunctional system? The reason is to get people to lose faith in the system, and then you can give it over to Wall Street. That's my view. Is
there any way to get more transparency about what Elon Musk is doing? I mean, the only thing like the public sees besides his posts on X are this so-called wall of receipts. And, CNN, the New York Times, David Fahrenthold, the Times has looked at the numbers that are being posted for the alleged savings that they're making. And a lot of them are phony. I mean, $8 billion contract for ICE canceled turned out to be an $8 million contract.
Well, I mean, two things. I am the ranking member, leader of the opposition on the HELP Committee, Health, Education, Labor. And I have requested of Senator Cassidy, the chairman of it, to bring Musk before the committee. I think the American people would like to hear him answer questions from members of the United States Senate. I will tell you, Anderson, just this last weekend, I was in Wisconsin and Michigan. We had, whole lots of people, far more people showing up than I had anticipated. We had 9,000 people in Warren, Michigan. And people are angry. They're confused. They see the richest guy in the world going around saying, hey, we're going to decimate the Veterans Administration. We're going to decimate Social Security. We're going to be laying off people here and there and everywhere. And people are saying, what is going on? So the idea that we have oligarchs, people with incredible wealth, trashing programs that working people desperately need is, I think, unacceptable to the vast majority of the American people. Now, they're going after Social Security, they're going after Veterans Administration, and obviously in their so-called reconciliation bill, they want to give huge tax breaks, over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%, and they pay for that by cutting Medicaid by some $800 billion and cutting nutrition programs for children by a couple of $100 billion. So I think the American people are saying, you know what? We're struggling enough right now. 60% live.
We have an opportunity to bring these people into our coalition, those most affected by Donald Trump. And it is crazy that those most affected are the people who actually supported him the most. That doesn't matter. We have a big tent. Let's make it bigger. Let's bring these people and let's make our country better. Let's call Donald Trump out. Doing it. That's what? Of course, we're going to be doing on the show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.